right there, that door, this large door was where the trucks went in and out. This is the story of how I worked here at Myers Roofing Company. It's a marvelous story that will encourage you. You see, about 1.5 miles from here is a large department store at one time called Fedco. And it much like Walmart's today. And so you'll get the flavor of what it was. I worked there for 6 years. I was going to Bible school. I was just married to Marilyn. So I worked at Fedco pre-marriage, pre-salvation, pre-Bible school. That was a long haul, 6 years in a department store. And so I knew after about 6 years, this isn't going to be my career. I want to be a singer, an actor. I want to do something that is dramatic, theatrical, movies, you name it. I was wanting to do that, preparing to do that, but meanwhile, reality set in. I had to make money and be a provider, especially now that I was a new husband. And so I took advantage of working at Fedco, asking people going through when I was a checker, my line. And I'd ask them all kinds of questions like, if you had to be a plumber, a roofer, a welder, a carpenter, what would you choose? And I listed some of the main professions. And they'd look at you like, what? And I go, no, you don't have to be one. Just what would you do? Sometimes I'd get somebody go, well, I'm a carpenter, or I'm a plumber, or I'm a roofer. And they'd give me personal experience. And then I went to college. I took a welding class. And so I was doing my part and being diligent and knowing that I had to get out of this department store. I didn't want to get trapped in a job that I wouldn't be happy with the rest of my life. Well, it just so happened that I settled in on roofing because I just thought that'd be good. Outdoors, on a roof, fresh air, what could be better? I'm an outdoor kind of guy. And so I then looked on the map, according to the map, what was the closest roofing company to Fedco, which is like about 2 miles up the road. And it happened to be this company, Myers Roofing Company. I knocked on the door. I said, my name is Richard Wheeler. I want to be a roofer. Mr. Myers, Bud Myers, the owner, said, well, we don't need a roofer. We don't need salesmen. We're fine right now. I go, but listen, I want this job so bad, I'll do it for free. You don't have to pay me. I'll mop, I'll clean, I'll go to job sites, pick up shingles. I'll do anything you want. I'll be a gopher. He looked at me like, are you joking? For no money? How could I resist? He says, start Monday. And so I showed up, and that showing up began to be a relationship that I built with Bud Myers. It was so cool. So Bud and I began to be friends. He was in his late 60s. And he said, you climb up the roof and risk your life. I'm too old for that. And you do the dirty work. And here's how you measure it. So I took this rolling tape that he had. You'd roll it, and I'd holler down 40 feet, then roll down 20 feet. And I began to give him all the measurements. He's on the grass writing down all the measurements. He said, do this, do that. We come down the ladder, came back to the shop. Pretty soon he showed me how to start bidding the material. He says, this is how you measure the roof. This is how you get the material. This is what you do for wastage, on and on. This went on, training. Yes, I'm soaking it all in. I'm a sponge. Meanwhile, I'm going to work. I work 8 hours. I'm coming here 4 hours before work. And I'm doing this day in and day out, month in and month out. Every so often you say, one of these days, I'm going to hire you. I go, that's fine, whenever you want. I'm ready. I love being around you. He'd take me to lunch. We'd share the Lord. I was a new Christian. It was a wonderful relationship. Meanwhile, in between bidding, I'd climb up the roof. I'd ask roofers, how do you do that? How do you put the hammer? How do you lay the shingles? And they would give me lessons. They'd give me the hammer, and I began to learn to lay roofing. I learned to do mop jobs. I learned to do shingles, shakes, the whole gamut of roofing. Then Mr. Myers would take me to the roofing company, and he'd show me how to order the material. All that was happening that I didn't know is God was grooming me to have for a season of my life a Maranatha Roofing Company that I started in Santa Monica, California. But at that time, I wasn't even hired. One day, I went to the employment office where I work, and I said, listen, I'm quitting. They go, really? You've been here for so long? I mean, I was like a buddy with all the management. I go, yeah, I've been here 6 years. I'm going to become a roofer. They go, do you have a job? I go, no, but I'm going to be a roofer. They looked at me kind of dubious. I go, yeah, I'm preparing myself. I've been going to Myers Roofing Company training. He hasn't hired me, but I'm ready. And so my 2 weeks were up. It was the last week. All of a sudden, I'm coming into this door right there, that door right there. And Mr. Myers is right next to me. We'd already taken the truck into the shop and or left it out here in the alley. And then he said, well, one of these days I'm going to hire you. This thing that he'd been saying for over a year. I go, how about Monday? He goes, what? Today's my last day at Fedco. I turned in my 2 weeks notice 2 weeks ago, and as of Monday, I'm unemployed, and I want to be a roofer here. He goes, well, how much were you making at Fedco? I told him, I forgot. Let's pretend it's $265 a week. I make $265 a week. He opens up that door, he hollers through the whole length of the shop to the secretary way in the front on Jefferson Boulevard and says, Virgie, put Richard Wheeler on for $265 a week starting Monday. He's working for us. And that's how I got my first professional job. You know how it came? I followed the biblical pattern. Ask, seek, and knock. All those three principles that Jesus taught us, I applied them by faith. I didn't sit around waiting for something to happen. I made it happen because I was diligent, determined, and I knew that God would give me the desires of my heart, and I wanted it, and I pursued it, and I went after it until I got it. And then eventually had my own company that was very, very prosperous until God moved us to Oregon. Another story, another time. But God did the very things that I desire. So my challenge to you is, if you're a young person especially, or unemployed, and you want to move from one job to another, that would be the third option. If you're one of those three, just seek it, pray, ask God, cry out to Him, say, Lord, this is what I want to pursue it. You know, God is patient. You know, parents go, oh man, that kid's driving me crazy. I don't know if I can handle them. They're always persistent. God loves precision. I discovered that God is patient. Did you know that God doesn't mind us driving Him crazy? He's got the patience of Job. He can do anything. He can wait on us. In fact, it wants us to wait on Him, and He wants us to pray. He wants us to seek Him and to knock and to find. So not only do we do that before God, but we do that in the world. So I went to Myers. I knocked. I sought. I persisted with Myers Roofing Company, and that all paid off in the end. And that's what God will do when you're determined. Exercise your faith. Faith is aggressive. It's not passive. And our God will honor the desires of your heart according to His will. And don't relent. Don't give up. Pursue what God has laid upon your heart to do for His glory. I leave you with this word to pause and ponder.